Hello, it's me again. I'm back. Finally. Bet you thought I'd gone, but no, I got bored, so here I am making another video. Yeah, you can tell from the title what this one's going to be about, so I'm going to try and keep it as uh, positive as possible. And just describe my experiences. But just before I get into that, I have ordered a capture card for it's just for like the PS4. Well, anything that goes in HDMI, so PS4, PS3, Xbox, whatever. So I'm hoping at some point I can just put some gameplay on there, just something going in the backgrounds rather than just the usual drawing, just something a little bit different. I've got some pretty obscure games that I think might just, yeah, some people might just like to see. I won't play the audio, I'll just have the gameplay going in the background. Yeah, and then it'll just be my annoying voice over it. So if you can put up with that, there might be some interesting games to have a look at. Because I do, just, again, conversation for another time, but I do have quite a collection of games that, yeah, people might be interested in seeing something. So yeah. Anyway, moving on from that. Yeah, today I'm going to talk about. Why am I laughing? It's really not funny. Um, I guess it's kind of good that I can laugh in a way, but I'm going to talk about depression, but more specifically, my experiences with depression. So just a kind of a quick disclaimer, really, I suppose, to start with. I'm just talking about my experience here. I understand that for everyone it's going to be different. Different. They might find different things help them, or they stressed and worried about different things, because everybody's different. I wonder how many times I'm going to say different in this video. Needed like a counter or something. Um, but yeah, what I suppose I'm saying is, like, what worked for me might not necessarily work for you, but hopefully, if it's something that you're struggling with, or even if it's not something you're struggling with, you can gain like maybe a slightly better understanding, um, or hopefully, if it is something you're struggling with, um, you can just find something in there that will help you. That's kind of my hope and aim for the video. That, and to be honest, I just feel like I want to just kind of speak and just get it out there. I think I've been feeling like that for a couple of days, so I'm just going to get it out there. Even if nobody listens to it, this is just me speaking into this microphone is kind of like therapy, because like, I'm a lot better now than I ever was. I was really bad. I had some really low points, but like now I feel pretty strong. But you never. I don't think you're ever quite. I don't think anyone's ever quite in this like perfect Zen state. Unless you're like a Buddhist monk, maybe they achieve it. But I've not quite got there yet. Um, I don't even think I've strung together like 2 or 3 meditations in a row, really. So, because that's something that I kind of, I don't believe in all this kind of spiritual stuff, but I think there is like a science to it. Anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna try and start from where I feel the beginning is, and I'm gonna try and slowly move on from there. It might be a long video, heads up. um, but yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna start from where from basically when I was about. I think really when I started probably more exhibiting some behaviours. Maybe I was like 11, 12, 13. My memory's kind of fuzzy in places. I think my head was just fuzzy through a lot of this, but I can remember some key turning points. And through all this, um, I think I struggled for a long time to even realize that depression is what I was dealing with. Whether that was because I was just scared to admit it, or it might have just been I just didn't realize it. But looking back now, I realize the weight of things. I think when things are really bad, sometimes you kind of roll with it. you use coping mechanisms to get through it, but then you look back and you're like, oh man, wow, that was bad, you know. Not that I've had it the worst in the world. I'm not saying that, but just because you've got things in your life doesn't mean you don't have a reason to be sad. You don't need a reason to be sad. I think that's the thing. Sometimes you can have everything in the world and you just feel incomplete, and and sometimes I think when it's like that, it makes it harder to speak to people because you just think they won't understand, they won't get it. And you know what? Even if that is the case, which I don't really think it is, but even if that was the case, it still helps you to talk about it. So anyway, let's start from when I was a lot younger. I mean, I had anxiety. I had bad anxiety. When I was a teenager, a young teenager. I didn't realize that's what it was at the time. I was just scared of everything and didn't know why. I think when I was at that age, so I'm 34 now, so we're talking like, oh, don't make me do some maths. I'm normally alright at maths, just not under pressure. But let's say, yeah, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, year 2000, I don't think, for young people, mental health, I don't think it was at the forefront. And I remember the internet was like, I remember having dial-up internet and being charged like £1 a freaking minute to go online. So it was like these days you can learn so much just if you know where to look or know how to use a search engine, and that's helped me a lot in more recent years. But back then there was like pretty much nothing really. I was scared I was shy. I could not speak to a girl, like, and don't get me wrong, it's not all about just speaking to girls, but it's just an example of how I was just so scared of being judged. I got bullied really badly in school, really badly. That's another thing that I look back on it and I was like, oh my god. Like like an example, I used to love PE. I used to love it. Physical education. For those who maybe don't know what that is, but I used to love it. It was like my favourite lesson. And I started forgetting my kit because I didn't want to be around this kind of group of lads. And I thought I'd only done it like a couple of times. Like I used to forget my kit so I could just stand on the sideline and hold the corns. I thought at least I'm not going to get like, I'm going to try not to swear, get abuse, It never worked. Plus, I still had to be in the change room before and after, but it was still, in my mind, it was still better than the alternative. But anyway, I remember one day the teacher kind of came up to me and pulled me to one side and said, what's going on with you? Why have you forgotten your kit so many times? And I was just like, what do you mean? And he kind of said, like, it's been like 15 lessons or something. I mean, I think we had it like twice a week. I think he said it'd been like 15 lessons or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but I remember thinking, oh my god, like, I didn't realise like how much I'd been doing that and how much of an impact it was having on my life, And I did start bringing my kit in after that, to be fair, it did. So, but it never got any easier, But yeah, so like I say, I was bullied in school. I could do another bloody video about that and all, but yeah, I'll continue. So basically, I had no self confidence. I only had a small circle of friends. Half my friends at the time, I think. Do you know what? I am going to swear. So I can't go this long without swearing. They just took the piss out of me. They weren't really my friends. I think when you don't have a lot of confidence, you can really fall in with the wrong group of people. You're just like the punching bag of the group, And then my other friends who didn't do that, I don't think really valued me that much. It's like I'd go around knocking on their door or whatever on a day off, and it was just like, oh, okay, but they'd never come to mine. They'd never ring me and see if I was free, I only see that now, like looking back, and they had their like I had this one friend, and like I don't know what happened. Like he used to be a geek like me, and it was fine when that was the case. And then all of a sudden, like he started 1 year at school, got his first girlfriend, and suddenly, like, oh my god, it's like his head just expanded. Like not literally, I mean like, but he got like so popular, and he made all these other friends, and they'd all be suddenly around all the time. And he'd be going doing things with them, and I really struggled to connect with people. I think I initially connected with him because I was like, we both like geeky things. We're both a bit socially awkward. You know, we got on. We had a laugh. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, basically I had shit friends. I think I had like one good friend who's I'm still kind of in touch with to this day actually, but we kind of grew apart because I guess when you're younger, you don't realize what's good for you. And when I started hanging around with these other people that weren't good for me, I think he kind of saw that and just really didn't have any time for them. And I can kind of see that more now. But yeah, at the time we just kind of grew apart and went into our own social groups. He was like the other guy. He kind of became more popular, but he didn't change. That's the thing. He didn't change. That's not why I was distant from him. And like he always would have maybe had time for me. I mean, we had like this. I guess we had this like unspoken relationship where if his friends were going to be around, then I just didn't associate with them, and they didn't associate with me, and we were just like separate friends. I mean, yeah, not great, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe I have to give that one some more thought. Anyway, like I've not got this all figured out. That's the thing. I'm just talking as I go. Um, yeah. So yeah, I had no confidence. And then again, without going into too much detail, something happened in my family that was massive. Really, massive. I was way too young to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions at all. Um, my dad's he's just like he's still like it to this day, but he's just like so rubbish with his emotions. He just never shows any emotions. It's like he thinks it's weakness, and I remember him saying that to me. Not that it's weakness, but he said that like we as the men have to stay strong, and I get that to a point, but I kind of felt like I had to just clam up, and for me at that age, I mean I was 17 at the time. It was really damaging. It was really damaging. Um, and again, I look back, I see that now. But that would follow me for like another 10 years, not being able to kind of deal with things. You start these habits and they can so easily stick. It's kind of scary, but I think as long as you're able to self-reflect, you've always got a chance. Um, I'm reflecting now. I'm still figuring things out as I go. I'm much better today, but am I perfect? No, I'm not. But nobody's perfect. Um, and it's especially tough in these times with the COVID and everything. But I might touch on that later. I might. I'm kind of sick of hearing about it at the moment. But yeah, anyway, this event, we'll call it, happened in my family, and it just changed everything. Um, it was just so unexpected. I didn't know how to deal with it. I think I had a lot of anger because I was just bottling everything up. But then also what I did was I then attributed kind of all my stress and anxiety to not being able to deal with this, right, and to an extent it was right, but I had issues before this happened. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a sip of my drink. Yeah, I had issues before this even happened. I couldn't deal with things. The reason I was dealing with so badly is because I had issues in the first place. Um, but anyway, a couple years go on. I turned 19. I moved out. I moved out when I was 19. Which is pretty early. I know a lot of people who moved out when they were like 20s, 30s. Yeah, but I was 19. But at the time, it was a pretty sweet offer. It was like my friend's mum was moving away. Him and my other friend, and the thing is, by this point, roughly when about so I turned 17, actually, I think it might have been about 16ish to 17. I started finding some proper friends, like real friends who like me as a person. Although could never figure out why at the time. But again, this is all tied to what I was going through, I suppose, or my issues. But yeah, but they were proper friends. I mean, there was a couple of knobheads in there. Don't get me wrong, and I don't speak to them anymore. But like, two of them are my best friends to this day. And I've been the best man at the wedding and the godfather to the children. But anyway, I moved in with these guys. I was 19. I had a pretty good deal at the time. It was like £200 a month. Didn't even have to pay for bills or anything. I like his mum covered the mortgage, I think, and we just all gave a bit of money. I gave the least money because I had the smallest room. But I was very like that at the time. I was like, just give me the smallest room. If it's the cheapest, I'll have it smallest room. I used to think I was so hard done by as well. With like what I was paying, and it's like, oh my god, I needed a reality check. But that's the way you are when you're younger. The amount of money I could have saved, I could have had a mortgage like 10 years ago, no joke. But hey, whatever. Live and learn, and try not to regret. I think if I regret everything by this point, I won't be fucking laughing. That's for sure. But I did carry a lot of regret. When I was younger, man, I could not let things go. Oh my god, I could not let things go. I really struggled with it. Um, but yeah, anyway, I moved out when I was 19. I did have a job at the time. I worked at can I say? I'll just say a well-known supermarket. I worked in a cafeteria. I absolutely hated it. I was a nervous wreck. There was one lady that shouted all the time and was really rude in her faces, and she was just awful to me. And it's like I just could never speak up for myself. I made some friends there though, but it was more. Sometimes I felt like people were friends with me because they felt sorry for me. Um, God, that's really bad. Oh, that got me then. I don't feel like that anymore, but at the time, yeah, at the time, I think maybe that's what it was. Not sure if I realised it or not. But anyway, I did that for a couple of years, and then it was like, okay, I need a full time job, because that was just part time. Like, I was doing weekends, but then to be honest, I was pretty much working the week because I was taking every overtime being offered, and not because like I was a grafter. It's just because I couldn't say no to people. My manager knew I wouldn't say no because again, too scared to say no. I mean, in hindsight, it's probably a good thing because I needed the money. But yeah. Anyway, I got a job in a bank, a well-known bank. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was wow. That was massive for me. That was like it was my first full-time job, and I remember thinking, "Oh, I work in a bank now. I work in a." It was so snobby the way I thought at the time. Like this kind of stuff wouldn't bother me now, but I was like, "Oh, I work in a bank, so I've made it. I don't work in a rubbish supermarket anymore." Yeah, everyone, I've got a job in a bank. Or if like someone asked where I work, yeah, I work in a bank. It's like, really? And really, I was just like office dog, you know. But it's just saying, yes, I work in a bank. Oh, yes, I dealt with that important bank account once. It's like, yeah, I passed someone a piece of paper with somebody's famous name on it or something like. And you shouldn't really even say that stuff anyway. But And I didn't, for the record. Yeah, I just made all that last bit up. Just ignore me. Um, but yeah, it was my first job anyway, and I remember thinking, because as before, like I said, I got bullied a lot. I got bullied a lot in school and college, and I remember thinking, because to be honest, I've not really had a bad time at the supermarket. I know I said, oh, they're only friends with me because they feel sorry for me, but they never picked on me. They were never mean to me. Um, like it was generally a good work. There were a few people there actually that were like, I won't piss on if they're on fire, but they weren't really in my department, and I never really like had run-ins with them. So yeah, like looking back on that, um, really wasn't a bad place to work. Um, yeah, but then moving into I keep nearly saying the name, but moving into the bank, um, I think I just thought, wow, this is like a proper adult place to work. I remember thinking that this is an adult place to work. It's like everyone's just respected, and oh my god, it could have been further from the truth. I thought because I was in this professional office environment, I'd made it, and everyone just behaved. Because in my mind, still, like, adults were perfect. I was so naive, especially for a 19-year-old. I think 19-year-olds are a lot more cleared up these days. But yeah, I was like, adults are perfect. Adults don't make mistakes. It's like, really? Adults are like, I work with adults now, and blooming heck, there's children who are a lot more well put together. Um, just because somebody's an adult, it doesn't mean they're always right or the word is law. Unless they're your parents, obviously. Uh, um, but yeah, like my manager, for example, at the time, she was just a bully. She was a bully. Like she would shout across at the office to me, like if she felt like I was doing something wrong. And I'm in an office with like 50 people, and everyone's looking at me. I had no confidence. I felt worthless. She used to. I'll get this. I've just remembered this now. She used to. She used to pull me in over. Like we had like free drinks machines. That was probably the only decent perk of working there. I mean, the coffee that came out was shite. It was just like fucking sludge. The swearing's increasing now, as you can tell. But yeah, it was crap. But there was always like somebody would get the drinks in. And this is another example of like how little self confidence I had. I was too scared to offer to get the drinks in, and but people don't see that. They see that you're just some selfish arsehole, you know. And anyway, I remember she used to pull me in and be having words with me about me not getting the drinks in enough. I'd be like, what? And I remember a couple of years later, like at the time, I never really had the confidence to speak up, but a couple of years later, I spoke to some of my colleagues, and they were like, "What? Are you for real?" And it turns out there's a few occasions where other people had raised grievances against her for like the way she treated me, but I never really saw any of that. It went on behind the scenes, so to me, she was just getting away with it, and she did get away with it. It never hindered her career, like as far as I know, anyway. Um, I did become more confident down the line, and she kind of gave me less shit after that. I still had very low self worth, but I got to the point where I could look her in the eye. But here's another problem. When I started, I hate saying this now because I really don't like the woman. I mean, she'd not get anywhere with me these days. I would not stand for any of her shite. But when I first met her, like, I was like, oh, she's quite good looking. So I was like, can't speak. And that didn't help. And yeah, other members of the team just didn't like me. Um, I was the youngest there. I was 19. Everyone else was like 30s, 40s, 50s. I made loads of mistakes. Never worked in an office before. And their coach is very like, you make a mistake, you fucking hung, drawn, and quartered for it. I got put on probation for like another 6 months. You're kind of like on this probationary first year, and they kept extending it, and they kept giving me shit performance ratings. And I know now I'm a hard worker, but I got in the mindset that it was like something wrong with me. Yeah. what's kind of funny is those people now that were on my team and hated me at the time, they all like me now. You know, they all eventually got to know. When people got to know me, they like me more. But for somebody to get to know me, oh man, it was hard. It was really hard. Because I just couldn't open up. I just like locked everything inside. But no, it is again like people don't see this. People just see the antisocial person who never speaks, and I made some friends there as well. Like some lads, they're a bit older than me, but closer to my age, you know. And but even some of them, I think, felt sorry for me or just took the piss out of me all the time. There was two of them that just took the piss out of me. There was like one who was like my genuine friend. One of them who took the piss out of me. After a few years, I think he genuinely, like, you know, had some respect for me, and the kind of dynamic changed between us. I'm not sure why that is, but I think sometimes the way I speak and the way I talk, and maybe some people maybe perceive me as being a bit stupid or naive, and I'm really not. I'm really not. And when people get to know me, they can see that. But if people think you're like that, they just tend to speak to you like you're an idiot. I think that at my age, like that place, they were so bad on anyone young. I remember like a couple of years in, a young girl started, and oh my god, they made her life hell. And for me at the time, I was like, oh, they're kind of just letting me get on with things. So I was just getting on my job, and I remember she got to the point where she just like walked, and she said, "You need to be careful because it's going to be you next. Like you're the youngest on the team now." I was like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, lo and behold, it was me next. They made me jump through so many hoops. I remember I went through a disciplinary for like, God, it was bollocks. I think it was like something about attitude or something. I don't know, they came up with some stupid phrase. But they never did. I went through this whole meeting, they never really gave me a chance to kind of explain my side. It was like they had an answer for everything. And I even knew what their answer was going to be before I said it. Not because I was necessarily wrong. You figure out this corporate bullshit speak. Like, and it pisses me off so much when I see it because I think, like, just speak your fucking mind, mate. Stop being a fucking mindless drone. And at the time, I was really, because this was like I said, it was a few years in. I was really trying to push myself. I'd opened up to one person about what had happened to me when I was younger because I've been bottling up for so long. I hadn't opened up to any of my friends or anything. This one person I'd got in a situation with where I just couldn't. I didn't even tell them. They basically just like had me like nod or shake my head, and they got to the bottom of it. So I told this one person, and I was like, right, I need to kind of tell them what's going on with me so they can understand me a bit more. And I couldn't do it, and they never clocked on that I was trying to tell them something. And I mean, it was bad. It was literally like if I tried to speak, the words just wouldn't come out. Like people say, "Oh, I just lost my voice." It's like it's literally is that. It's like it just goes for it. Comes out. It's so yeah. It's weird. It's weird. Anyway, the years went on. I was never very ambitious. I think because I just wanted to be safe all the time. I ended up moving out. Like my friends had a big fallout. The place we were living between themselves, and then so it was just me and one other. And it became a situation where it just wasn't financially viable anymore. So I ended up moving out and living on my own in some flat. There was other stuff going on as well, like some failed, real epic fail relationships that messed me up. But I'm not going to get into them because that's something else, a whole other thing I could talk about. But I mean, in terms in the workplace, you know, I was now living alone and going into work, and so I suppose in a way I was like extra alone I mean, I never really spoke to my friends, about what was going on with me. They knew because they just knew what had happened, not because I'd told them. They were close enough to me at the time that they just knew what had happened. But it was just like never spoken about, and that's nothing on them. Like one of them, he's actually really good at that kind of stuff, and he would mention it from time to time. But I'd say a couple of words, and maybe that'd be it. So it was on me really. Um, anyway, so I was living alone. Some, I stayed in the same job just because it was safe. It was safe. It paid the bills. Oh my god, I'm living on my own. I had tried to move back in a few years before, and my mum just told me no. I was really angry at her for that, but I'm over it. Um, so I was like, oh yeah, just I've got a job, I'm being paid, whatever. And I just saw everyone move on around me. So it got to the point where I did apply for a few things, but I had no self confidence. I always failed at the interview. They made me feel like I was so bad at interviews. And their interviews were absolutely grueling. It was like five 4-part questions, like no joke, and it's sort of like you just had to have like a certain look and a certain thing about you. I always say now to this day, it's like I'm a good worker and I am good at what I do. I have strengths and weaknesses. That job now, if I applied myself as much as I do these days to it, I still won't get anywhere. Um, because it's not my personality is not shaped. I'm not a robot, basically, and I'm not. It's a big place. This bank I worked in. I'm not saying everywhere to work there is bad. It was so big. It's like there's different divisions, and I'm sure there's places to work that are perfect. I remember they had me go work in Manchester for a couple of weeks once on some project. Because they just needed some monkeys to, I don't know, to grind the organ or whatever. Or is it the organ grinder? You know what I mean. Anyway, they definitely saw me as a monkey. But I remember thinking, oh, they're just letting me crack on with it. Like no micromanagement or anything. They trusted me. I felt really good. And then a few weeks later, I'm back where I was, and so I saw that it was different in different places, and I saw people do well and go far. I know people that are still there now to this day. It did suit some people. Maybe I was just unlucky in where I landed. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one because I just don't see the point in holding any more resentment about it, to be honest. So yeah, I missed loads of job opportunities. Felt like I was just rubbish at everything. I didn't have any examples for like when I went into an interview because I had no motivation. I was just so lonely. Like I literally had like last few years I was there. I had like one friend. I'm not even joking. One friend I went on dinner with. Um, and everyone else is like. I had a couple of good managers who I talked to from time to time, but yeah, I didn't have many people. I didn't do myself any favors, but it's hard. It's really hard because it's not like it just wasn't easy to just switch things around. It was so difficult. It just seemed like such a monumental task. I remember at times when I did work so hard at times and my figures were amazing and people were praising me but then as soon as I slipped, I remember somebody came to me that I'd slipped one day. And like I said before, you get crucified for your mistakes. I was just like, I just felt like I couldn't do anything right. And I remember I went to the toilet and I just sobbed. The amount of times I did that in that place. And nobody ever knew. I remember I was just sobbing away and somebody came in and I remember just covering my mouth like like and I was like, oh god, it's come to this. It was so bad. And that was a point where I think I knew it was getting bad. And And there was stuff like, I mean, I actually did have a few. This is a bit of a a jump to another subject, but just hopping back to like the relationship thing, I did have some opportunities with some girls there, but I blew it every time. One girl was a really good looking girl. It was like she was my perfect woman, just made for me. She liked me, I like her. The writing was on the wall. I had golden opportunities, and I hesitated. And you hesitate, and then the dynamic changes, and you miss the opportunity. But the thing is, because of the way I was, and I was so negative and down in myself, I could not. The hurt of missing that opportunity, I struggled. It was like I used to say to my friends, like, I banned her name with my friends because just hearing it hurt me. I know that sounds really like messed up and psycho. Like, I mean, I move on from it now. I can have a laugh about it, but the time was bad. It was like it makes me think of Infinity War, Endgame. That's it. Sorry, Endgame. Where a Hulk goes like I think they got getting the team together, and he goes to Thor's house. He's playing he's playing on the games and everything, and he's like, "Yeah, we're going after Thanos," and he's like, "Don't you say that name to me." And I'm like, I remember when I saw that in the cinemas, I thought that was like me with that girl. I was like, don't you say that name. I could have had her. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. And I feel like having experienced things like that, when I see men like pining over a woman, I just think you need to move on, mate, because trust me, I feel your pain. I've been there, but you're putting yourself through so much. I don't think, oh, you're sad, you're pathetic. Because I've been there. I've been that guy. I think it would be a bit hypocritical for me to say that. I mean, I think it's something a lot of people learn as they're older to kind of move on easy from stuff. And it's the same, the same principle applies to job interviews, You don't get it, you have to let go, you can't hold anger, especially if it's an interview within your own company. Because you carry that with you, and whether you know it or not, you carry it into your next interview, Sorry, I just need to wet the whistle. Don't you say that name. I just had to get that out of my system. Yeah, so basically, in a nutshell, like, nobody really knew how much I was suffering. I never really spoke to anyone other than one person. I was there for 12 years. I told one person. And that still remains to this day, the one person I told. In my new job, I've spoke to people. I've told them. Because I knew I can't go on like I did in that last job, Anyway, and on top of that, this is another. I'm not going to talk too much about this now. In fact, I'm not going to talk much about it at all because I might do another video on it. But I started losing my hair, and I mean, like, I think I was about 27. It wasn't gradual. It was like one day I looked at my desk. It looked like there was a fucking haystack on it. I was like, what the fuck? I rubbed my head, half my bloody scalp came off. Yeah, it was rapid. I was so stressed. It was so stressed. I remember I couldn't even... I've always been one of these people who can go to the toilet and just pee when there's a guy next to me. Never bothered me. And I remember at the same time that I was happening with my hair loss, I went and somebody came in next to me and I couldn't pee. And I remember saying to him, like, this doesn't normally happen. And he was like, yeah, sure. But anyway, it's really worrying me. And then from then on, I couldn't pee for like a couple of days. I was like, this is really bad. I was really struggling. Like, it felt like it was going to hurt. Anyway, I went to the doctor telling him I couldn't pee, and it was like burning when I was peeing. And he was like, oh, you've, yeah, I think you've got like, oh, what is it? Chlamydia? Well, he didn't say that directly, but he sent me for a test. I was like, mate, it's not chlamydia. I said, trust me when I say it's not chlamydia. I mean, basically, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like, I've not had sex for like 7 years. I told you, like, I didn't have a big social circle. Don't worry, I've been doing some catching up the last few years. But yeah, I'd not had sex for like 7 years. But then it got in my head that, oh shit, what if it is chlamydia? I'm going to have to contact someone from 7 years ago. They're probably going to be infertile by now. This is getting dark. I mean, it was not chlamydia. I'd even been tested after that, but then I started thinking, what if that test was wrong? Oh my god, my head, I was so so stressed, waiting for those results. I think I had to wait 2 weeks for the results. I felt sick for those 2 weeks, like, and it got to the point where my stress was so bad. I had these pains in my stomach, like, they were so painful I couldn't physically stand. I remember just being curled up in like the bathtub and having like the cold shower running on me. It was like the only thing at the time that made me feel better. And then eventually, it came when I could ring and check for my results or whatever. They fucking lost them. Oh man, it was so stressful, so stressful. Anyway, let's move on from that. Um, I got I got an opportunity basically that came along for redundancy. They were offering like voluntary redundancy. Take like, I'm not gonna say the amount, but it was, for me at the time, it was a decent chunk of money. In reality, it's not big money. Like, if somebody won it on a game show, you'd be like, is that it? That's the top prize. But for me at the time, and I was young and I wanted a bloody PS4 or whatever. I took it, and I think that was a big turning point for me. In like, I took a risk. I never really took a risk up till then, other than the odd job interviews. I only ever applied for a job I felt really safe going for, but yeah, I took a risk, and it was off somebody's advice. The one person I was speaking about earlier that I told about my situation, they said this could be a chance to turn things around, to make a fresh start. You hate working here. You say it every day. You're always angry. Like, if it wasn't for that one person saying that to me, I don't think I would be where I am today. I owe that person quite a lot, really. I've not even spoke to them in a couple. I know it sounds awful. I think I'll make contact again soon. Now that I'm saying this, in fact, I will. But yeah, anyway, I took this redundancy option. They were happy to get rid of me. Because I wasn't agency staff. You can't just ship me out the door. I can stomp my feet and, you just give me a shit performance rating for the year. Even if it was undeserved. But you just get warts all over. Like, anyway, I took it. That was stressful as well, though, because it was like, I was applying for jobs, but nobody's interested in giving you a job if you're only available in 6 months' time. So I really cut it close to the wire. I literally had the interview for the job I got. There's more I could say on this, but I'm not going to at the moment. But yeah, I had the interview. Literally, it was, oh my god, I think it was the last day. My last day in the bank, I had that interview. And they rang me up that afternoon, because I had it in the morning. They rang me up in the afternoon, and thank you to them, actually, because they actually gave me the time off to go. I only found out about the interview the day before. I'd applied for it and bloody forgot. Oh, that sounds bad. And they'd sent me an email saying I had an interview. Not even checked it, because I was about as organised as a manic depressive. Because I was. And yeah, they rang me up and said, just want to check you're still going to your interview, because you just want to check you're still coming. I felt like I said that to you quick now. I've noticed when I speak, sometimes I speak really fast, so we'll try and work on that. But yeah, they rang me up and said, just want to check you're still going to your interview, because you've not answered your email. And I was like, oh, to be honest, it's an half of mine just to say, But something in me was just like, whatever. And the reason I was like that is because I had actually been offered another job the week before. A crappy minimum wage, safe telephone call centre job. But hey, I'd got a job. I was sorted. I didn't have to worry. I got a job and I got this nice little bit of money. This is where my ambition was at the time. And I just wanted things sorted. It didn't matter if they were going to be good or bad for me. I just wanted them sorted, if that makes any sense. I just needed a job. I needed a job, you know. And anyway, something in me was just like, whatever, go for the interview. And I went for this interview. And like I said, I got the job. But I remember in the interview, I just didn't give a fuck. But it helped me. It was like the first time I'd ever been to an interview and not been worried about how shit I was. And I was free. I just spoke freely, and they loved me. They said, best interview of the day. I was like, wow. And I got the job, you know. And thank God I went to that interview. Thank God they made the effort to call me. The scary thing is when I look back, a lot of these decisions, you know, one hinges on this woman who I confided in to encourage me to make this decision. And the other is these people making this call to me to make sure, you know, I'm going to turn up for the interview. Because they didn't have to do that. They're going to be like, he's not responding to the email, he's clearly not bothered. Most other companies probably would do that. And it almost scares me a little bit. I mean, I did take positive action to get these things done, but I know at the time I wasn't making enough of an effort. And just these small actions of other people really helped me. And this is it. It's like, I mean, I can touch on this at the end, but it is down to you to make the change and make the difference. People can support you, and in places, I don't know, for lack of a better term, pick up the slack. This is exactly what happened with me. People, even though I didn't have many people, I don't know, it was luck or whatever, but they helped me through it, and I'm so grateful for that. And now I have the strength to more do things myself, you know. But this is why it's important to open up to people. If I'd have never opened up to this lady in the first place who told me to take the redundancy, would we have even had that conversation? Would we have been as close? Would we have had the same connection? I'm 99% sure, probably not. You know. Anyway, I started this new job. I was a week out of work. A week. I was like, I was so scared of like having to claim. At the time, it was Job Seekers Allowance, Universal Credit now, but it was Job Seekers at the time. Knew nothing about benefits. And I didn't want to be on them because there's kind of this stigma that comes with them, which now I know is a load of bollocks. It really is. There are people making the name bad. It's always the bad examples that kind of jump out at people and the news will report on, because it sells, you know. So, but anyway, yeah, I was at work for a week, went back into work. And I was on crap money, but it didn't really matter at the time. I just used my redundancy to kind of backfill for it, and in my mind I was like, right, I need to this is a fresh start for me. I need to go further. And that's why I said earlier, I spoke to people more. I was more open when I started. It was a fresh start. I worked hard. It was a whole different culture at this place. And they had belief and trust in me. And I flourished because of it. I flourished. And for, I don't know, it was like a year or something, things were like pretty good. I mean, not great, you know. I really was still depressed, and I still had a lot of confidence issues, massive confidence issues. But I felt like things were on the right track, you know. Yeah. So, anyway, about a year in, again, I might talk more on this another time, but something happened with a work colleague. that really like we had like an unresolved issue that needed to be talked about, and I was kind of like, this is so cryptic, but I was just kind of like, look, let's just talk about it, move on from it, and they wouldn't talk to it about me, and it was absolutely killing me inside. My anxiety was just, it was crazy. It was actually the worst it's ever been, and this was a point where I realised that like, oh my god, I thought like I'd moved on from. I thought I'd left this old job and all my problems were solved, you know, and I started opening up to people, but it was still there. It just, it wasn't even hiding all along. It was there. I was just, I don't know, maybe telling myself it wasn't, and things were getting better, which I suppose they were to an extent. But yeah, this happened, and I just was not prepared to deal with the conflict. I had a really good manager at the time, and I was able to kind of open up to her about it. She was really understanding, and for the first time, I mean, I've not never mentioned anywhere here like going to the doctors or anything like that, because I was, and the reason for that is I was always really anti-medication. I never wanted to take medication. Didn't want to be someone who's on like 6 different pills, or it's so weird. You always look at the extremes. Oh no, I don't want to be on 6 different pills. I was talking about one pill, you know, potentially. But I got to the point where I was so bad. I was like, I cannot, I can't physically, mentally figure out a way to cope with what I'm feeling. So I made an appointment at the doctor's. And they prescribed me sertraline. And this is another thing. I know it works for some people and doesn't work for others. So it's not like, I'm not saying this is a wonder drug. Some doctors love to just spam it out like it is. I spoke to a lot of people who say it doesn't work for them. But I started taking it anyway. And oh my god, the first 2 weeks on that, oh, I've never felt in such a dark place in my entire life. Like, the mornings were just like, the only way I can kind of describe it is it's like a black hole, like inside of you. Like everything just feels completely helpless. Like you're just getting sucked in. All you can do is watch. There's like nothing you can do about it. It's just such a, I always think of it as like, if I was in space and being sucked into a black hole, and I was in a spacesuit or whatever, and I had no way of getting away, that's how I would feel. Like, you know, this is it. Like, this is, and that's the worst I've ever felt. And this is the scary thing. I know there's people that felt worse than me, but I'm talking like the medication is really bad, but I pushed through. I started spending more time at my mum's house. Like, my mum was around for all of this, but I never spoke to her about any of it. My dad lives abroad, and I've already established he's shite with his emotions. There's just no point talking to him about it, but my mum was always there. It's not like she didn't support me or anything like that. I was more worried about stressing her out, which is why I never told her. But this was another big point for me. When things got really bad and I had this conflict in the workplace, I told her. I was so stressed. Like I said, it pushed me to a point where I remember just going around and just talking to her about it, and she just let me speak, and she understood, and I told her I was on the medication, and it was like one of the best things I've ever done. The thing is, like, you think you're going to worry your parents, but I think when you don't tell them anything, they worry more because they don't know what's going on in your life. They want that security to know that if you have an issue, you will come to them and tell them. And that's like such an important thing. So yeah, I started going to my mum's while I was on it because I was feeling so bad. I felt so bad. I was like, I can't. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I was like, I can't be alone feeling like this. It's just dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I never told her the extent of how it made me feel, but she knew it made me feel bad, and she knew I felt better there and safer there. So she'd let me stay. She'd let me stop the night. I did some nights, you know, because I just needed someone. Even if I'm not speaking to them, I just needed someone to be there, you know. Um, anyway, I got through this first 2 weeks, and I don't want to put people off trying medication. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but you have to kind of try all the options open to you. So I know I'm saying it was really bad, and it was, but is it going to be that bad for everyone? No, probably not. Everyone's different, you know. Some people start and don't get any sides, you know. But you have to push through the sides. I think a lot of people quit at that first hurdle. I would just say, like, if you're going to do that, like, make people aware around you that that's what you're doing, because it's really important you open up to some people and they can support you through that time. Um, so, yeah. Anyway, after about 2 weeks, I was feeling rough. And then I kind of went back to what I kind of saw as normal, um, as in like just me before the medication. The problem kind of started resolving itself, so then I felt more relaxed because of that. And then I started noticing like there's little things in the office, people I was scared to speak to because they were so loud and boisterous or opinionated. I just tell them what I thought. And I remember like walking away from some conversations like, I can't believe I just said that. Like, you know, I'm thinking, is that the medication? And then I just kind of like move on from it, you know. And it'd happen like 2, 3 times a week, more and more. And and even the workloads, I used to stress so much over the workloads. I'd always get them done, but I would stress so much. Whereas it became like, yes, there's a lot of work, but do you know what? I'm just going to keep working till it's done. And and I handled it. So yeah, I noticed that changing, and then a job opportunity came around, for an apprenticeship, and it was actually like worse money. Um, because I'd have had to. It was like the same pay scale because I was on shite pay, but it was like the same pay scale, but so it was like a sideways move. But I would have had to go back to the beginning of that scale if that makes sense, because I'd already worked my way up the scale. But because I was moving sideways onto this other one, it was the same pay, but it was a different job family or some bollocks like that anyway. But luckily, I managed to speak to my manager and kind of keep my slight pay rise, so that was good for me. But yeah, it was like a 3 year apprenticeship. It wasn't a guaranteed role. My previous role was permanent. It wasn't guaranteed, so it was a risk. But I felt a bit more confident taking it. I took it. Best thing I ever did. Best thing I ever did. Well, the redundancy and then this. um, yeah, because it oh my god, like I worked on so many different departments. I spoke to so many different people. People started noticing that I was more confident. A lot of people were like, "Oh, it's his apprenticeship bringing it out in him," and to an extent, yeah, it was. But a lot of it was the medication. Just giving me the ability to kind of speak my mind and tackle things more, you know. I did so many things. I went abroad. I went to Romania. Working on like building houses for the people in the village, for the Roma people. I went to Malta. I went through like I went spelunking. That's like cave diving. That was awesome. That was awesome. It was a proper teamwork thing. and like climbing up. It was in like some old mines, climbing up all these walls and stuff, and jumping down these black holes with like a bloody zip line, and oh, it was amazing. I love stuff like that, and so it was really hard though. Like some people were in tears. I can't go on, but I fucking loved it. The only negative was one guy at the front of our group. I don't particularly like this guy very much, but whatever. He kept farting, and when you fart underground in a cave, in a mine shaft, it fucking stinks. And I'm not talking about what he did it about 10 times. I was like, this guy is fucking pissing me off. Like I honestly I could have. I wanted to kill him. But overall the experience was pretty good. Yeah, so I did that, and I worked hard through it, and I applied myself, and people saw that I was more outgoing and more confident. And this is another thing I noticed. When you're more confident and you're outgoing, you have more belief in yourself, or you're just generally more chatty with people. You might not care how someone's day is, but you just ask, and they care more about you. They're willing to do more for you. I have so many more friends now, and it's so much easier. I don't worry about my ability to relate with someone. If somebody can't relate to me, like whatever, you know. And it's kind of funny because when I was massively depressed, I was like, well, if you can't relate to me, whatever. It was like the same thing, but just such a more negative spin on it. But I think the difference was then nobody actually liked me. And there's still gonna be people who don't. There's still people who don't like me now. There's still people I work with that cannot stand me. Well, I won't go that far, but they dislike me. And that's fine. I don't sweat over it. I don't think about them. If they want to sweat over me, that's fine. It's not my problem. I win, is the way I see it. But anyway, yeah, the end of this apprenticeship, I did really well. People could see that. I was praised. I did a qualification in housing. I got a distinction in it. A distinction. And this is another thing. Like I said this early on. The way I talk and the way I act sometimes, I think people think I'm a bit goofy and a bit dense. But I got this distinction, and they were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm smarter than you think. I'm quite academic, really. When I want to be, when I want to apply myself. I think the way I talk is very chaotic, and I kind of lose my train of thought sometimes. But I have a lot to offer, and a few years ago I would have never thought I could do that. You know, and just going back to the job interviews as well, they made me think I was rubbish at job interviews at the bank, or them and myself. My own the way I was at the time. But now I see I'm actually really good at job interviews. I don't even get nervous anymore. I just go in and I just talk. If I don't get it, I don't get it. But I go in, I talk. I'm positive. I'm nice and friendly to people. Because I tell you what, like, you can not necessarily say all the right stuff, but if people like you, oh my god, it goes a long way. This is what I figured out. If people like you, it goes a long way. Now I'm not saying I'm the most liked person on the planet, but you're talking about a guy who's gone from nobody liking him to like a couple of people liking him, and then maybe a little bit more, and that is a massive contrast. I can see it in my life. It's like once you kind of are able to be more positive, you really do see the benefits around you without even, and it's like you're not even making effort to do it. The whole problem is getting to that place. It is difficult. I make it sound like I took a magic pill and it was fine. It still took a lot of work on my part. That searchline just gave me the extra strength I needed to maybe say some things, and I had to, like I say, I said some things to some people in the office, and I was like, I can't believe I just said that. But then I reflected on that, and I was like, oh my god, I can say these things. I can be confident. I can go and do this. And this is about the same time I did the video earlier about speed dating. I started going speed dating. I started doing that on my own. I experimented with stop drinking. It was it was just great. So, I mean, where I am at the moment, let's just go to where I am at the moment, because I'm nearing the end of this now. I've been talking forever. Where I am at the moment is Well, it's bloody COVID-19, isn't it? So, is my mental health the best at the moment? Honestly, no. No, it's not. The last couple of days, it's just been weighing on me. Like, I'm not going to get into all the conversations about, masks and tears and what I think of them. What I know is that it gets me down. I know there's people in worse situations, but that doesn't just make you happier. Sometimes you have a genetic predisposition to be this way. Sometimes there's other things going on in your life, but sometimes there's just no clear reason. You don't have to kind of feel guilty for not being happy. And I think that's a really important thing to take away. Don't feel guilt if you don't feel happy. And oh, yeah, but you've got so much good in your life, and well, there's something else there that maybe you need to address or you need a little bit of support with. But never feel guilty for it. Never feel guilty for it. I mean, these are just my thoughts. Obviously, it's not gospel, but yeah, this is just my thoughts and experiences. Again, as I already covered. So yeah, I mean, I suppose I'll close off now with like my coping mechanisms really are. I'll just vent. I mean, this is one of my coping mechanisms now. Just talking bollocks. Um, I'll ring a friend. I'll talk to him. I'll talk to my mum. Um, and it's not always just talking. Like under normal circumstances, we're not locked down. If I was feeling lonely or whatever, I'd go out and meet some women at speed dating. I don't have to do that now because I've got a girlfriend. But now I've got the whole other problem of I'm not allowed to see my girlfriend because it's long distance and there's the tears. This is making things difficult for us and gets me down. But I talk to her every day, on Skype, and it's like talking is a good way to cope. Another thing I do is I just have some ways of like relaxing and clearing my head. I watch speedruns on YouTube. I was speaking to my girlfriend; she's calling me now. Do you know what? I might do a whole other video on coping mechanisms. Because I've been a while now, and I really need to kind of close this off at one point. But I hope I don't know. Maybe some people can relate to some points in my story.